All right. Hello, everyone. So, this is going to be my first episode for my podcast called Limitless Spoons. I will be your host, Kristen McBride. So, I had a whole video planned already for what I was going to do today, and my intuition spoke to me, and I really thought instead I need to talk about my previous background of things that have happened to me, and that would basically make more sense of why I'm going to talk about certain things in the future, mainly about women's health, spirituality, pretty much anything that kind of relates to my life and anything that I've gone through it. I would like to talk about that, mainly to help others and help and heal, basically. That's kind of what my whole purpose for this podcast is for. And like I said, this is my first episode, so please bear with me. It's also Mercury retrograde, so everything is kind of jumbly around, and my speech may be kind of messed up and my thoughts all crazy as well. So this is my kind of cool green yellow couch. Well, not mine, but yeah. I would like to do different things with kind of this whole scenery here. But at the meantime, basically, I'm just going to keep this for now because I'm just seeing where this goes. Really, I've had this in my mind for about 3 years now. Every time that I try to pick it up, something bad would happen. So, and I just feel like in God's timing, it was not the right time for me to do it anyways. So, after my mom passed away, unfortunately, in February of this year, it was kind of one of those moments of, if I'm going to do this, I need to just do it. So yeah, really, I am just going to see how this goes and see where it takes me. I was going to ask my brother, because I haven't asked him yet, to possibly maybe make me a theme song for this podcast, which I don't even really know. He could figure that out better than I could, but so yeah, like I said beforehand, I actually had a whole video prepared for today, which I think everybody knows with the whole situation going on with the abortion rights and with, everybody freaking out about that. I was going to definitely put in my opinion on that. Basically, not just one side. I'm looking at it on one side or the other side, kind of in the middle. I just wanted to get my input on it to see what other people thought about it. But people that don't know me don't know that I have gone through a lot of health problems in my life as well, and other things that I can actually contribute hopefully some good advice on. And this morning I woke up and my intuition was kind of telling me that wasn't probably going to be a good first video to put out anyways, just starting off, especially for people who don't know me. And so basically, I just knew that I had to pretty much write down some things about my life, basically from my childhood, from early on, all the way up till now. I have certain things written down just in case if I forget, but some of them may be vague. Some of them may be a little bit more detailed than other things that I talk about. Really, I am just wanting to kind of get a little bit of my story out just so it kind of makes sense for future videos to come. And yeah, so I guess we'll just go ahead and dive in now. I'm going to make timestamps or post timestamps from childhood to either preteen, teenager, 20s, going forth. And hopefully it's not so wishy-washy everything. And like I said before I just start, this is kind of a good video for me to do all of this anyways, because this is just me first starting, and I can't really mess it up that bad because it's about my life. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I am still figuring things out. I'm figuring out more of if I want lighting in a different way, if I want the camera in a certain area, if I want things in the background. I actually do want maybe like a plant or something back here. I do, like I said, I have plenty of ideas that I want to do, but I have to kind of wait on that to see, like I said, where it goes when I make more videos, just to see, like I said, where it goes at this point. All right. So the people that don't know me that may watch this video, or if you are watching this video, my name is Krista McBride. I am 30 years old. I know. I'm so young. And I live in Oklahoma. That's basically all I'm going to say at this point. So if you hear an accent, that's where my accent's from. It's Oklahoma. So I am going to start from my childhood. I'm going to talk about some things that have been kind of sensitive in my life a little bit. It is going to talk a little bit about, my parents, my mom and my dad. What my parents decided to do and make decisions on in their life for me and my three brothers, or my brothers and I, is what they felt was right for them. I don't have any bad feelings against them. I don't wish anything different or anything. So I'm going to start off with, I'm not sure exactly how young I was whenever my mom and my dad would take us to a Baptist church. I'm not going to name the name on here because then people will know where and all of that. So yeah, so basically this was a very strict Baptist church, and coming off the bat, it was basically one of those churches that told you if you listened to a certain type of music, if you did any drinking at all, if you were doing any dancing, if you got a tattoo, anything like that, it was basically you're going to hell kind of thing. And yeah, that's kind of all I knew in the beginning of my childhood. Was very strict. We had very strict rules, very, very strict. And it wasn't becoming really known to me yet until I was about 6. And the reason for this is my mom actually played the movie The Nutcracker. And it was the Russian movie where this was the first time that she had put it on. I was actually kind of surprised that she put that movie on because it was dancing. And I remember watching even from the very beginning, and watching the ballerinas, and I was just in such awe of the movie and thought how beautiful it all was. And it wasn't until when they did the dance with Walls of Flowers and I saw the beautiful pink tutu, and it was really flowy, and the point ballerina dancers. I just remember sitting there watching it, just dazed and going, oh my gosh, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. I want to be a ballerina. And of course, it was at that point, it wasn't something I was able to really talk about, even to my mom, because we were very strict Baptist, and that was something that, you're not supposed to want to do or do. So that goes further into everything else that happens into my life, but that was something that I got shut down pretty quickly at my age of 6 years old, which is very, very young. Also, unfortunately, during that time as well is when my dad had lost his father, which would be my grandfather, from lung cancer in a span of about 6 months of when he got diagnosed and when he passed away. I vaguely remember it, and that's about it. And that's kind of around the time I was also being homeschooled, I think. My mom homeschooled my older brother and I think I was only homeschooled for so I was only homeschooled for kindergarten. And because we were such strict Baptist, I was only allowed to wear dresses and skirts, like long skirts. Wasn't all, or what they call, I forgot what they're called, squirts. I think that's what they're called, like the shorts that were skirt. I still like those though. I haven't seen those in a long time, but when I started first and second grade, even up to third grade, I was only able to wear dresses. And anytime we did gym or anything physical, I was definitely made fun of, which was very rough for me anyways, because I was always a very shy kid. I was really nervous to make friends. I was always kind of the weird, casted one out. And I just had like this weird social anxiety, or a weird way of socially interacting with others. And I could definitely notice this, especially whenever I was just starting out in school, and even literally all the way up to high school and most of my life still. I could tell that I am not like everybody else, and I do think a lot differently than some people, or I think overthink, and I think way too much. But I also love that about myself, so I don't have any, I think that's fine. So really, it wasn't until third grade I wore my first pair of jeans. So that was, there was a lot of things that went into religion and my strict, going into the strict Baptist church and my upbringing. And basically, the reason I'm bringing this up is it's going to come up later on, but up until this point, in third grade, I guess my dad actually got a promotion because he worked at Kwik Trip. So he was a manager at Kwik Trip for, I don't know at that time, I don't know, but I know he was a manager for about 16 years. And he got a promotion, or he was eligible to relocate to Phoenix. I can't remember if it was a Phoenix, Arizona or Glendale, Arizona, but it was one of them. I mean, we moved to Glendale, Arizona, but it was either Phoenix or Glendale where he had opened up for the first Quit Trip in the state, in that area. So that's kind of a cool thing there. So this is kind of going into, well, not preteen yet. I'm in 3rd grade. So basically, at this point, we moved to Glendale, Arizona. I'm in 3rd grade. And my parents are now trying to find a new church. And I think they looked for about 6 months to a year. I want to say a year. And I just remember they couldn't find a church to call home, basically. And so this became where we stopped going to church completely. And so it didn't really start hitting on what was the thing. Dynamic was all the dynamic in the family was changing at this point. Until I don't remember if it was in 6th grade or not, but it's basically, it was around that time. I want to say from 9 to 11, but it doesn't really matter. 9 to 11. My mom got a job working for, a chiropractor, and this story really isn't even relevant, but basically, my parents started, going out with them, and they were, my mom came home one night with a tattoo, and I was just completely in shock because I think I cried because I literally legit thought, oh my God, my mom is going to go to hell because, I mean, it is kind of sad though, in reality. I'm laughing, but it's like a trauma response. No, it really was kind of messed up because I was taught, and me and my brothers can tell their own story if they ever want to tell it, but really, I was taught, with them that if you did that, you were going to hell. And it was, you don't, your body is sacred. You can't do that. And so when she came home with the tattoo, I was just stunned and I didn't know what to think. And it was that and the process of its own of my parents, picking up things that we were told you're not supposed to do, and what we learned, things that we learned that you're not supposed to do, that you go to hell for, my parents kind of started picking those things up. And it was very confusing for me, especially going into that age. And eventually at that point, though, now that I look back on it, I swear to say that I'm kind of glad about it, but really I am, because I could not listen to Christian music all day long, every day long. I mean, I really like, was it Kenny G? My mom would listen to Kenny G. If anybody knows who Kenny G is, great musician. I still listen to Kenny G sometimes, but it was literally Kenny G, Christian music. I think there was one other thing, but that was it. There was nothing else coming in. And that's also when my mom brought in, whenever it was new music coming in, that's when she started bringing in Bon Jovi. And so it was always Bon Jovi. And that's kind of the start of when I realized I loved rock and roll music. And that's another story of everything else going forward through there. But let's say we're still in Arizona here, so we're still living in Arizona. And I want to say, so in 6th grade, I had a friend that I was actually no longer friends with, but it's a long time ago. And she had told me about a dance studio that was doing a free hip hop dance class. And so I remember like getting kind of nervous to tell my mom about it, but she really wanted somebody to go with, and I said, okay, well, let me ask my mom. And I convinced my mom to let me go do this hip hop dance class. And I was like, oh, well, you don't have to pay for anything, and my friend's mom will take me, and we're good. Like, you don't have to do anything. It's just a free dance class. So she's like, all right, cool, you know. She let me do it. So I do this hip hop dance class, and of course it was like this gorgeous looking guy. I mean, but he was like 19, I was 10, so that's kind of weird to think about now, but I still remember his name. And it was just really crazy that I even remember his name. But yeah, he was really good looking to look at, and so that's also a bonus for why I kept going to his hip hop class. But no, really, I did the class. I was actually very surprised of how good I picked up things, and I was very surprised of how much I loved hip hop. I honestly did not think that I would ever love hip hop, because I had always thought that I would only like doing ballet, maybe jazz, something like that. It just never occurred to me that, oh, I would maybe good and at hip hop and like doing that. So that's what I did. So I did the dance class and everything went well. I loved it. And my friend's mom actually was watching both of us while we were doing this dance class, and afterwards she drops me off, and she talks to my mom, and she tells her, and she goes, you know, you need to go see your daughter dance. So she's really good. She picked it up really quickly. You need to go take her to a dance class and just go watch her. So for some reason, my mom is already convinced, which I was surprised, because usually it takes more convincing than that. And she put me into a jazz class that I've never done jazz, and so I was really excited. I went to the class, except I get nervous when meeting new people, because I just don't know yet how they are, you know, how they talk, what their demeanor is. And so I did the jazz class, loved it as well. And afterwards, my mom just sat me down and she said, so you really want to do this? I said, yeah, I do want to do this. This is literally everything I wanted to do. And she goes, okay, you know, we'll do that. And literally signed me up 5 dance classes. So 5 dance classes a week. So I had ballet, jazz, acro, tap, and hip hop. And acro, if people don't know what acro is, it's basically like a gymnastics class that's like gymnastics and dance together. So I did these 5 dance classes for 2.5 years or 2 years. Well, about 2 years. So I would say 2 years. And I want to say really too, I was also playing the flute, if you know, but I mean that goes in to later on as well. I think the next thing is really the last thing that, you know, we had done in Arizona was we took a trip back to Oklahoma, and to visit my mom's mom and dad, so my mama and papa. And during that time, my mom, so I want to say I was 11. So I was 11 here. My mom told me that she wanted to take me to go see what is called the Union High Steppers. She said that the High Steppers is a dance team that does kickline, and she said that she just really wanted to take me, and she went and took me to a game. And so I waited to the halftime show. I remember distinctly watching them come out, watching the High Steppers walk out and go to the field and then start their kickline routine. And I remember just being once again, mind blown. It was just, to me, it was so beautiful. It was beautiful, and it just looked awesome. And I told my mom, I said, I'm going to be one of those girls one day. I said, I'm going to be down there, and I'm going to be one of those girls one day, and I'm going to be a high stepper. So, fast forward, we come back, and I think at that time there was some stuff going on with my dad's work and things like that, and we ended up having to move back to Oklahoma. And so I was in the 8th grade here. So it was like mid 8th grade, and that was a tough time for me because it was a lot different than what I had dealt with in Arizona. The classes that I had in Arizona, there was only 2 classes in my grade, and it was only maybe 30 kids in that class and 30 kids in the other, so only 60 kids in your age group. I get to this school, and it was like 1,200 kids, and it was a very big adjustment, and the kids there were very different than they were in Arizona as well. Very stuck up and snobbish, and not everybody there, but it was definitely very, very noticeable. And I just had a very, very hard time even trying to, what you would say, fit in during that time. And I think at the end of 8th grade, they had tryouts for JV High Steppers. So they have, for freshman year, they have what's called the JV High Steppers. And then your sophomore, junior, and senior year, you're High Steppers. And so I went in and I said, okay, yeah, I'll try out. Because I was already, I've already been dancing for a few years, and I show up and I'm the only new girl that's tried out in years. These girls have all been dancing together since 5th, 6th grade. And here comes this new girl just walking in going, I'm here. And yeah, at the end of the day, I got in. I became a JV High Stepper. And that really goes the story of also, I really wanted to have a group of girlfriends to be around, to have, to not only one, just to enjoy, because we're all dancing, so we all enjoy it. So it was a plus that I'm around girls that enjoy doing the same thing that I do, But it was a great way for me to actually finally get some friends that were girls. And I've always, my whole life, have struggled with finding girlfriends and keeping them. But I wanted to try out for officer, which is basically they have captain, co-captain. They call the two underneath the co-captain officers. I tried out for that. And actually, my cousin was the assistant coach for the JV High Steppers during that time. So I made my own dance. I actually did a hip hop routine, which is crazy. Once again, I would choose hip hop, but I did hip hop, and I did it to the song Temperature by Sean Paul. It was really good. And at the end of the tryouts, they had all the girls come in. They said, okay, we're going to do a popularity vote. So write down everybody's names from 1 to blah, blah, blah. Let's do a popularity vote of who you want to be officer. And I didn't think that this would qualify or even make or break anything, but obviously it did. And because even though I had the highest score for my dance routine out of all of them, because I did not get the popularity vote, I did not make it to any of them, to captain, co-captain, or any of the two officers. And that broke me pretty badly at that time. I remember crying and being very, very, very angry. And at that point, it became a competition. And maybe that's why I didn't become friends with these girls anymore, because I was then in competition mode, like, okay, oh, you want it to be about popularity? Okay, I'm going to show you that I can be still a better dancer. And either way, it didn't matter. Every dance at competition that we had to perform, I was in the front in every single one of them. So if that doesn't tell you something. But at the same time, I had trouble with trying to make friends with these girls. I tried really hard, and that was something that really, really, really hurt me, because that's kind of really all I wanted was a group of girlfriends. And I just, I guess, and that maybe there's something that I just didn't see back then that I was doing. I'm sure there probably was, and maybe I was being way too harsh against them as well, after, you know, not winning the popularity vote, and also kind of getting the, you know, I don't know. There could have been some things that I was doing, but at the same time, I was definitely trying to be friends with the girls, and it just wasn't ever working out. Because anytime that we were not dancing and actually at school, and I may see one of them crossing the hallway or whatever, they just never acknowledged me, acted like I just didn't exist. So I was whatever. So really, this goes to start of my health problems. And I know I'm trying to kind of keep this going quick, and this is obviously me talking a lot. I feel like I'm talking way too much. So, long story short, the next year, so sophomore year, tryout, I'm a high stepper. I made it. I did it. I was right when I was 11 when I told my mom. But no, really, I did it. I was very proud of myself. During that time, though, is when my health problems started. So I'm going to say 14 years old. And to anybody watching, I think this may be TMI. I don't really care. But at 14 years old is when I started my first period. And it wasn't till about 6 months in, I started realizing that the cramps were getting extremely painful, more and more painful. I was having more extreme back pain that was going down my leg to my foot. And I knew that there was something not right with that was not normal. And that's also when my depression started. At that time, I didn't know it was depression. I just knew that something had completely changed. I did not feel like myself anymore. Like, I did not feel like how I was before I had started my period ever. It's like I became a totally different person after all of this started. And that was very hard to deal with, especially when you are a teenager, because you don't really understand all the other changes that are going on in your life and in your body and everything else, and the hormones and everything else is dealing on top of that. So I didn't know it was depression until I think a few years later. I realized that it was depression. And really, this went on till, I want to say, it's still going on, really. But I would ask girls in high school, because you would do, sex ed classes, and you would have to either go to those and, you learn the basics of sex and protection and all of that. But they never teach girls about painful periods, birth control, endometriosis, PCOS, any of those fibroids. Like, they never taught anything about that. They never gave insight. So I just remember talking to some girls in my class and going, do you ever have painful periods? Do you know, how does it feel for you? What's going on? And because I was just trying to get some information to see if maybe I was crazy, or maybe if this is normal. And if this is normal, I was like, this sucks. This sucks. But really, I think there was a few girls that said that no, they didn't really have that. And then there was one girl that told me that she throws up from her period cramps because they're so bad and they hurt so bad. And I remember thinking, oh God, geez, it doesn't happen to me. It's like, well, I guess there's nothing wrong with me then, because damn, I don't throw up. Like, shit. It's like, you one up me. But no, that's, I wasn't fun or anything. So I had really, honestly, so much more stuff that I wanted to talk about, honestly. But it would, now that I'm thinking about it, it would probably take me 2 hours just to talk about it. And like I said, I'm going to make videos anyways on these subjects. So I'm now just going to talk only about my health issues from here on out, because then it will, yeah. Okay. So, where am I? 15? Okay. So 15 also is whenever I first started seeing a doctor, like a primary care doctor. And this doctor didn't really want to do anything for me. Really was like, you're too young, and trying to tell me that I didn't have any problems and all of that, that I'm not old enough, and all that bullshit. Anyways, I kept having more issues come up. I started having kind of like now it was more bloating, like harder bloating. It's hard to explain. And this is also whenever I was getting more, I don't know if it was really cystic acne yet. I think it was more of just acne everywhere. But I mean, as a teenager, almost everybody's having acne. So it wasn't really anything concerning, so concerning yet at that point. And I continued to go to the doctor. Mind you, as I was also having extreme lower back pain, which at this point in my sophomore year, it was becoming very hard for me to continue to dance. And at the point of my junior year of tryouts, the first day of tryouts, I show up, and the next day, so there's only 3 days of tryouts. The next day, I couldn't even get out of bed. And I'm 16 years old. 16. So this was a very low point in my life where I am realizing that I'm losing the one thing that I'd always wanted, or thought I always wanted. And it was very hard for me to deal with. It was extremely hard for me to deal with. It still makes me sad, honestly, because I loved dancing. Dancing was who I was, and it tore me up, and it was painful, especially for me to realize that I'm only 16 years old, and not only am I having to give up the one thing that I wanted to do and that I love to do, but I'm having some major health concerns that doctors aren't really concerned about, or saying that there's nothing wrong with me. And even, unfortunately, people close to me in my life just thought I was being a hypochondriac and, not just being a baby about it, honestly. And that went on until I got my diagnosis later on in my 20s. But basically at 16, 17 years old, I had to give up dancing. So I had to give up dancing, and then at that point in my life, I felt really lost, and it was coming up into senior year of where people were talking about, what they were going to do when they went to college, and what they were excited for, and their futures. And all I just knew was I felt like I had lost mine, because that's what I had envisioned for myself when I was a little girl. And I just didn't know. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I just felt like I was being left behind, and everybody else was moving on with their life, and I was just, here. And they had some kind of TTCU thing where you could go into technical school if you had extra credits and everything like that. And what's crazy is I actually had I think I tried to sign up for medical billing. For whatever reason, medical billing seemed interesting to me. I don't know why. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to sign up for medical billing. And then I think the only thing else was graphics imaging and photography. And of course, it came back that medical billing was already full and that I could only choose photography and graphics and imaging. And I chose graphics and imaging. I almost finished that even after I had graduated high school. But, you know, for me, I have to be constantly shown new things. And the teacher was never there the last year. And I was learning absolutely nothing. So I felt like I was just there for no reason. So, I mean, I should have stuck it out for the last 3 months, but I didn't because I wasn't learning anything. And I left that. And I was about I want to say 19 there or 18 there, but 18 was the start of whenever I had not only my first panic attack, but whenever I experienced anxiety for the first time in my life. That's also, I'm trying to find here. It's whenever my migraines first started. I didn't even know that they were migraines. I was having migraines. I was seeing little floaters. They call them floaters. I didn't know that meant that you were having migraines or anything because I'd never experienced that. I was having starts of infections, whether it was UTIs, yeast infections, what felt like infections. I was having that starting at 18. Let's see here. That went on all the way up until so up until about 22. So 22, I was actually working in a pain management office, and I was able to get an MRI done because from 22 to 15, I had seen multiple doctors. I had done x-rays, multiple x-rays. I don't know if I want to say a CT scan. I've also known they've done ultrasounds on me before, but I know they've done multiple x-rays. But this was finally the first time I was able to get a MRI done. And I kind of figure what it might have been because I had been talking to some pain management patients who were having some kind of similar pain and in the same area and kind of the same symptoms. So I kind of figured, okay, this might be what it may be. But it did come back that I had my L4, L5, mild, moderate bulge disc. I also had disc degenerative disease. And I think that's it at that time. Yeah, so that was what it was just at that time. And even then, I was still having constant migraines, infections. And at this time, they would check, even whenever I would go to the urgent care nurse or doctor, whoever would always come in and say, well, you have a high white blood cell count. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? I mean, obviously there's something going on. I say, well, that's obviously an infection or some kind of inflammation, but I don't think it's really a concern. I'm like, well, obviously, if it keeps coming up high, but they would always do cervical checks and always say, oh, well, your cervix is extremely inflamed. Okay. And they're like, oh, we think it's an STD. Okay. You know, at first the first one came, I was like, oh gosh, please no. It came back negative, you know. I didn't think I had one, but you never know. And it then became a constant thing. I think I had done 10 STD checks within a 2-year period, I think. I want to say it was a 2-year period. And I was just like, okay, there's something going on. Why can't I get any answers? What's going on? Why can't I get any answers? I'm sitting here, there's something going on, but no doctor, no nurse. I even went to the hospital in 2015 I even got no answers there. They said they did every test that they could there. They even did a ultrasound there as well. Couldn't find anything. And so they just sent me home. And it felt like I literally was bending over. It felt like somebody had stabbed me right in the uterus. And I knew there was something wrong. I had lost like maybe 20 pounds and I looked sick. And I was getting no help. I even went to a urologist after I went to the hospital because they had made an appointment for me to see a urologist. And the urologist did their thing too, came back, nothing. And they said, well, we can't help you. You need to go see a gynecologist. You need to go see a new gynecologist, a new doctor. And I said, oh my gosh, like, crazy. But finally, at 24, I saw a new gynecologist. And I'm not kidding you, it wasn't even 10 seconds that the gynecologist had looked at me and said, and I could tell when he had a certain face, and it was one of those, faces that you just know, oh shit, they're going to say something like, here we go. I thought he was going to tell me I have cancer, but but no, really, he had this face, and he goes, well, have you ever heard of endometriosis? I'm like, actually, yeah, I have. I said, I don't even know why I didn't even think about that. But he goes, I'm pretty sure you have it. But at that time, I don't know if it's different now. I haven't looked it up. But he goes, at that time, he said, we can't say you have it unless we do laparoscopic surgery. So I'm like, oh, great. So I go do a laparoscopic surgery, come out, find out. Not only do I have endometriosis, I have PCOS. And I never even heard of PCOS. I was like, what the hell is PCOS? Polycystic ovarian syndrome, and both cause infertility. Both have no cure. And I remember just thinking, oh my God. And it was like walls went up. I was like, okay, don't want to hear anymore. So really, from 24 to 26, I had gone through infertility for 2 years. Infertility. I took multiple medications, had 2 surgeries, and the last thing that I did was Lupron, which is it's actually a chemotherapy drug that is for advanced prostate cancer. And that fucked up my world like no other. Literally the worst fucking thing that I have ever done in my life. And I highly don't recommend it. And I'll talk about that stuff later. But literally, it was not fun. But I actually ended up getting pregnant on my own without any medication. I stopped doing everything. And it was like 2 months, I think. I think it was 2 months. And I had my first son in March of 2019. I also had to get a excision surgery done. If anybody knows about endometriosis, excision surgery is like a gold standard surgery for endometriosis. And I needed to get my appendix out because the endometriosis was attacking my appendix to where it was causing me constant symptoms of mild appendicitis. And yes, it's painful. And so I did the surgery at September of 2019, and 2 days later, I ended up in septic shock and double pneumonia. Almost died. And I dealt with the repercussions of that for the last 2 years. And not only that, I had issues with my short-term disability at my work, had to get a lawyer. That's still an ongoing thing. literally since 2020, so the last 2 years. And when I had my first son, and no, actually, I didn't even have him yet. I was pregnant. I was halfway pregnant with my first son, and my mom got diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, and actually ended up in remission when I think it was 3 weeks after I had my first son. And then 2 weeks before I found out I was pregnant with my second son in April of 2020, my mom's cancer came back. And she never was able to, unfortunately, get back into remission. And so today is actually her birthday. And that's why I wanted to do this video today. I wanted to do this video today because not only is it my mom's birthday, but to me now it's a special day. It's a rough day as well. But I know my mom would be proud of me. My mom was a woman that if she found something that she wanted to do, she would just go for it and do it, whether it worked or not. And now that I had been sitting on doing this podcast and videos for the last 3 years, I realized when my mom passed away in February, I realized that I gotta also start going for things in my life again. I used to do that, and I had so many things happen in my life in the last 15 years that I got too scared to jump like I used to, and I need to start doing that again and stop worrying about what other people think or say. I know a lot of people, even in my life, try to, it actually did tell me, that they didn't like things that I said or posted or whatever, and I let those people, shut me up basically, because of what they felt like they couldn't handle from me, and I'm no longer doing that anymore. And so I'm doing what I feel like I need to do. I feel like I'm going to continue to keep doing this for however long I feel like I want to do this. And like I said, this is the first video, so I knew there was going to be some kind of hiccups here and there, and basically this is just kind of like a tryout thing. That's why I kind of wanted to talk about my life, but then I realized that it was going to take way too long with the things that I wrote on there. But basically, this whole kind of first video is for me to put into perspective of the health problems that I have gone through. The things that I'm going to talk about in certain videos will start making more sense, and hopefully I can bring in good advice, and I can help other people, and hopefully even with talking about grieving and loss, and hopefully I can help heal other people and meet people who relate to me as well. And like I said, I'll just see where this goes. I'm just doing this. I'm not really expecting anything out of this. I'm just going to be myself. And I know that people have asked me if I want to do editing for these videos. I may in the future, I'm not sure, but right now I'm not. I kind of want to keep it as real and genuine as I want it to be, even showing the mistakes and flaws that I have with whenever I forget what I'm saying or stuttering or whatever. That's kind of what I wanted to have planned for all of this. And I know I do want to do a lot of different things. I will be kind of messing around with things. And we'll just see. Right now, I'm just seeing how this goes. I'm not taking it that seriously, as into everything has to be completely perfect, and because that's not life. But if you're still watching this, I'm seriously so grateful. Thank you. I know this may have been a little bit brutal because, like I said, it may have been a little bit everywhere, but I know the next video, it's going to be a lot. To me, I feel like it's going to be better. So this actually really helped me with the first one. And once again, I appreciate if you have any suggestions for me, whether, anything, critiques, whatever. Literally, no hatefulness. I know people are going to make hateful comments if they want to, but, or if they're even going to, that's inevitable. But literally, just please be kind and be kind to one another. Have a blessed day.